Good panels today?
Yes.
Today we're about to talk about Asians.
Who?
Represented on YouTube. So we're here for the Kelly Dallas event. This is the one place. We're putting together ideas for panels. I think there's a lot of talk about diversity, which is a great thing, but I don't think that there's ever been a panel in the 6 midterms I've been to that spoke specifically about Asian representation on YouTube. So I'm going to cough. And I think it's important to explore the Asian American experience on YouTube because especially in the early days, we have a really impressive, we have a really strong voice, a really strong community. And today, I'm excited to speak to two. I know the wrong foods running a little late. We have a legendary panel today. We've got Weston Philip on food. We've got our new winner. And Allison. So why don't we just get started by talking about how we got into YouTube, what the role models, and why we feel content doing it first. Oh, that mic's not working, so you're free to have to show. Sorry. How did you get into YouTube? What interesting stuff?
Oh, that's not live.
Super close.
Can you hear me now? So I guess I'll start again. I live in a small white town, and I stick out like a sore thumb, and I never really was comfortable with who I was. I always wanted to be somebody else who looked like everyone else. And I would find creators that looked like me, or if they didn't look like me, they also just were women of color and loved who they were. So comfortable in their own skin. One of them being Andrew's Choice. I fell in love with their videos, and then I thought, I need to make some videos too for girls like me. And that's kind of how it started for me, and it ended up that's how it started.
So, I know. Jeez.
They don't love me.
They're chicken food.
But yeah, they care.
Cool.
Thanks.
One food, the legendary story.
We started making videos because it was fun and we liked telling stories. We actually started before YouTube was around. The fact that our identity is American is a big part of our story now, but it wasn't a big part of how we started. It's something that we found in the community and something that we really believe in now, and we're so honored to be part of it.
Allison?
Hi. So for a long time, I had told people that I started making videos about 5 years ago, and for a long time I told people that it was simply because I was bored at home and wasn't really allowed to go out much, so I turned to YouTube. However, while we focus a lot on the YouTube experiences being creator focused, for me, being on YouTube, my journey on YouTube started much earlier. So never mind the fact that I had no idea what yellow fever was or anything like that. I learned a lot about mosquitoes that summer. I just having Asian role models in new media was a very formative experience for me, and that's why I make videos today.
And it's also encouraged you to start a collab channel. Can you talk about that?
Oh yeah, so on my main channel, I'm and on my main channel I do comedic storytelling, though the comedic part is subjective. And last summer I felt that there was this disconnect between me and the YouTubers around me. I felt like I was lacking this Asian community that I so sought out. The community that inspired me to start making videos in the first place. So what I did was I started a collab channel dedicated to Asian creators, not making content that's Asian specific, so just talking about Asian. It's content that's consumable by anyone. But I really wanted to highlight the unique perspectives and stories of Asian creators. So I held an audition process. We have 6 regular creators from all around the world: Australia, the UK, California, New York, where I'm from. And every Sunday we try to feature a new guest so that we continue highlighting new Asian creators who are more often than not up and coming. Andrew's been on it, he's the bomb, and yeah, that's where my passion lies on YouTube.
Yeah, and I think it's important to remember, like, even within the Asian umbrella, there's diversity there. We have East Asian, South Asian, others for the purpose of the conversation today. Just can you tell us a little bit about how you got started on YouTube, why you decided to start making videos?
Oh, absolutely. Hi guys, I'm the other Asian. Anyone the Asian here? Is there any other South Asians on this? Alright. What kind of South Asian are you? Sri Lankan. Sri Lankan. Hey, listen. We can have a conversation. Where are you from? How's your parents?
I'm from Bangladesh, just married.
What's that?
I'm from Bangladesh.
Oh, Bangladesh. Nice, me too. She's good. Well, sorry, what was the question? It's, I just started. How did I get started? How many times did I get started? How did I get started? I got started in second year university. I was supposed to go to film school, and I told my dad, listen, dude, I'm so good at making films. I got like 2 scholarships. He's like, oh my god, the film school, they have a doctor? They teach you the doctor at the film school? No. He's like, oh, then they should. You're not doing that, please. I'm like, oh, okay. So I was doing biomed and I hated it. And then I switched up, didn't tell my parents, started making YouTube videos, didn't tell my parents. They found out that I was a disgrace to the family. I got shunned. I still have to spoil my father's sons. No, I'm just kidding. So it was new to them because they didn't know how to use the internet. They didn't know what the internet was. They're like, what are you doing? If you're not on the TV or the movies or in Bollywood, this is bullshit. So like, don't do anything.
You managed to cross over to some of
I did. That's when I finally gained the respect of my parents. I did like a Bollywood Punjabi movie last year where I played like a guy from Canada gets kicked out. My character was pretty much DJ Jazzy Jeff. You guys know that?
Yeah.
Thank God. Oh my God. So I played like that was me. I was like the DJ Jazzy Jeff. Anyways, I started in second year, out of boredom, started doing it. Parents were like, what the hell? I was like, chill. Started making money, paid my tuition, paid my books. So like, oh, you're making money from this? I was like, chill. And then other like Indian parents were like, that's your son, that guy who's doing the funny stuff? And my dad's like, yeah, that Indian guy, yeah, that's my son. And then he's like, oh man, this is something cool. So I taught him how to use the internet. I was like, listen, you guys don't understand what I'm doing. So I literally sat them down. I was like, here's an iPad. This is how you use the internet. And now my dad's on everything, like Facebook, Snapchat. He's sending me like 4-year-old memes. Like, look at that, man. They did the whip. And I'm like,
So is there a specific moment or a specific video for you that you feel is what got you started building momentum?
yeah, it was like a multiple step process. So at first I started making videos that were just like silly, and then my friends were like, oh, And then I made this one video called A1 Shopping Cart Driving School, which is a parody of Punjabi TV commercials. And it's like there's a truck driving commercial, and it's just crazy. It's like, oh, you want to learn a truck drive? Calm down, my store. And it's like, it just makes no sense. So I did a parody, and then that blew me up in the Indian community, then slowly the South Asian community, and then like the immigrant kids, all the immigrants. They're like, oh, we understand, because our parents are also immigrants, we get your story. And then I was like notorious on that level. And then I think Vines popped off, and Snapchat and everything else, and I just started making content for everything. And then it's just now, it's just like, I like everyone, which is crazy. So yeah, let's do it later. So it's like steps. So.
Nabella, same question for you. Was there a moment in your creative career that you felt you started to gain momentum or attention, whether it's positive or negative?
I think I know what you're talking about.
Yes.
So I made a video, and it was called Dear America. And it was really highlighting how Islam is represented in the media. And as we know, the cultural and social climate in America is tense, to say the least. So I, as a beauty video, DIY video maker, decided I'm going to use my voice and my platform to talk about something that is important to me. So I made a video, and I didn't know that it was going to become the video that changed my life. And it landed me a lot of press, but also it took me to the GOP debate. YouTube and Google were like, hey, we saw your video, we wanted you to ask Donald Trump a question. And it was supposed to go for Donald Trump, and then Hanoi, backed out of the debate. And so I couldn't ask him the question, I had to ask Jeb Bush. And he was like, he gave me like a very clean-cut, really tailored answer, and it was nice, it was respectful. But it was really for Donald Trump in that I was asking if he were to become president, what he would do to change the conversation and how Islam is represented in the media, and what he would do to combat Islamophobia. And so that question also resulted in me getting a lot of attention. And now my channel is a space for South Asians to come, not just for some representation, but also to have their voice be heard.
So on that note too, when you're creating, we talk about how, we're not necessarily talking about Asian American experiences, we're just talking about our experiences. But when you create, are you thinking about a specific audience? Do you have a specific audience in mind when you create your stuff? Or is it just kind of what you feel like, and does that go to it?
Are you asking me?
Anyone, please.
I do have an answer. I think, aside from a handful of short films we've done, most of it is for an audience that is not particularly Asian or Asian Pacific either. It's just a universal story that a lot of people relate to, and if it gets popular, it happens a lot of times because Asian Americans tend to share it amongst others, and then we develop that kind of representation.
Yeah, I don't wake up in the morning and think, I'm Asian. I'm just me, right? So I think whenever we make, our content, we're just thinking about our own experiences, not our own Asian experiences. And it comes out naturally just because that's just our lives and what we have to either deal with, or our specific type of humor or our background. But it's never like, let's make this thing just for Asian people.
There are certain moments. We just finished shooting a web series called Single by 30, and it's going to be on YouTube. And in that, our leads are Asian American, and we actually have a few nice scenes with their parents. And we actually called, we went back to our own experiences, and in the conversations that they had with their parents, and the way the kitchen looks, and they're watching like bok choy for dinner. Like, this stuff is very personal to us, and I think in those little moments, we really try to bring in, the Asianness. But like Phil said, it's not like, how would an Asian eat this bowl of cereal? It's like, we're just people, but with a very, unique perspective.
Yeah, I think we just want to be authentic, to ourselves. So when we were dressing that kitchen for the Asian parents' kitchen, we weren't like thinking, how would an Asian? It's like, no, this is just my kitchen, and this is what it looked like. And if people can people relate to it, or they can, either not feel weirded out by it, and that's the best, when people can just not judge our content solely just like, oh, there's Asian people in it, it must be an Asian video,
But what I can do is just continue being myself and trying to really push the boundaries of what it means to be Asian American.
Yeah, definitely. Like I think that's what you said is really true. Is that even if we want to be perceived as just regular people, that's just not going to happen. You know? And instead of shying away from it and being like ashamed, I think it's really important that you lean into it and you're proud of it. And there was definitely a time where in casting our shorts or sketches, we're like, oh, like, does this thing have too many Asian people? And it's like I think it sucks that we even have to think about that. Like I don't think very few people have. I don't know if like other demographics have to deal with that, but it's like we have to for some reason be ashamed. Like for some reason I was feeling like embarrassed or ashamed, and after a while I feel like there's no need for that.
Sure, JC is not like, does this mean you have too many black?
So that's the thing, like it's weird that I don't know if it's like specifically like Asian people, but there is a feeling of like, oh, like we don't want to make people uncomfortable or we want to be accepted, but I think it's important for us to celebrate that we are different and that it makes us special, and hopefully we can get people to see what our experiences are and relate on thinking about that.
Well, I think that's one of the great things about YouTube too. It's a space for us to just be ourselves, be normal, and see ourselves represented in ways that we don't necessarily see in traditional media unless it's like a very stereotype. So, do you feel that Asians are well represented on YouTube in 2016? I'll give you a second to think about that. I would definitely say that in the early years of YouTube, I think there were a lot of top creators. I think of KevJumba, Happy Slip, Dan Joy, Kid Premise, at the time, Wong Fu. Big been around. But are we still kind of at the top today? I don't know.
I definitely have thought about this a lot because there was that initial bubble or the golden age of Asian Americans on YouTube. East Asian, I'll say that. There was definitely more East Asian at the time. And I think it's funny because during that time I definitely wondered where all the Southeast Asians were, and I was wondering why why there wasn't a KevJumba of like Indian people yet or something, And now we have seen that. I was in med school, so I lost my balls, right? I think what happened during that time, that was the beginning stages of YouTube, and most Asian kids weren't trying to be YouTubers. It was by accident that all those people that you listed off got popular. Nowadays, being a YouTuber, you understand what that means, and it's the same difficulty as going into entertainment or going into Hollywood. And so that those expectations of going to Hollywood are back again to our culture, which does not promote going into arts and entertainment. And so you have a lot less people, Asian Americans, that are going for it, because you can't do YouTube accidentally anymore. That's just not the environment as it was in 08, 09, or whatever. So I would say that there's far less representation compared to before in terms of ratio. And that's not anyone's fault, that's just the rest of the world caught up to what Asian people were wasting their time with, back in 2000.
Well, can you also maybe attribute the fact that the fan culture has changed around us and a lot of corporate influence and money going into this, so maybe do you think that plays a reason at all?
Well, I wanted to add on to what you said. I think also, well, right now we have some bases for the South Asian community, which obviously makes me so excited and motivates me entire time.
Lily's on the top.
Yeah, we've got chemistry, we've got Lily, and it's so exciting. But I think that a problem that exists is that for some reason there's this idea that there can only be one person, So when I or any of my peers in this space try to make a video talking about our experiences, for example, me rejecting an arranged marriage and marrying this white boy over here, So me trying to talk about my experiences, immediately in the comments, it's like, you're trying to be the next Lily. And I'm like, no, I'm not trying to be the next Superwoman. I'm going to got everything going on. And it doesn't need to be just one, South Asian woman talking about experiences for South Asian women. And I think that even she would say the same thing. And so there's this issue with one person being a face of something versus a community of people being able to represent in a good way. So. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, my parents, that brings
Speak on that.
like my dad, he at first was like, just Rain's dad, was like, what are you doing? And then now he's like, yeah, he checks my stats and stuff. But he'll say to me when I say, oh, video did good, he goes, how good did it do? Was it the best one or was it okay? You know, and I'm like, Dad, like it's not. And then if I got into an article, you know, or something, it'd be like, which one? Like it's like everything is a scale, and I think that's a cultural thing for sure. If it's not 100%, you didn't try hard enough, you know? So I think that also.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you brought up like there can only be one, because I definitely, if you look at like the landscape, you know, among like white YouTubers, there's a ton of like bloggers and everything, and it's okay, and that's great. They all have the fan bases, they'll share, they'll build with each other, but for some reason, like, you know, like it feels more fragmented, you know, in the Asian American community, or like people will say, oh, you're just trying to be that, or you're just trying to be that. Definitely, I've heard, because I've wondered, especially since we've been doing this for so long, I've always wondered like why there hasn't been another long food productions type group after all these years. And then I talked to some people like at colleges when we do our talks, and they're like, oh, we don't want to be compared to you guys. You know, it's like, well, that shouldn't be the point. You know, like we just need more creators out there just doing it. You know, and I think people put on themselves this pressure that no one else is putting on them except themselves to be something, or they compare themselves to. I think it really is the way we're brought up. You know, it's like, did you get an A like someone else did? Which college did you go to? Did you know, like, so it's all there. All the ingredients are there.
Well, do you feel in a way, maybe, can you talk a bit about what you guys do with ISA or ICTV?
Yeah, I mean, with ISA, like we started basically. We wanted to like make like a BET for like Asian people, but it's really like so we have this channel that we started called ISA TV, and it's supposed to be like a hub for Asian American news or content or featuring lifestyle, featuring new artists, and trying to just facilitate and be like it's us trying to reach back, you know, and trying to like help newcomers up. But I think it really comes down to just if people want it, you know, like, because we can do as much as we can to create the content, but there has to be the interest from the community there to support it first. And I think that that's just as important as, the consumer side is just as important as the creator side. Everyone has a role in that sense.
Just Rain, how do you feel that YouTube compares to like another platform like Vine, which is very successful in terms of its diversity and how they support non-white creators?
In terms of, is YouTube concentrating on diversity? Yeah, I think it's starting to now. I don't know if it was before for like the longest time. And I think I just did, like, I was like kind of bummed out by it, because I was like, man, I'm like the only, like, I feel like right now the male Asian, South Asian brown YouTuber right now, but like it wasn't that much like. I was like, oh, I mean, like, invited to these things, but I didn't really care because I was like, oh, I got my own thing, I got my own like niche audience. Plus, I don't think brown people know how to like be part of YouTube culture just yet, or they're starting to. Like, no one ever subscribed, no one ever did any of that stuff. They just like used to share their videos and be like, oh, this is funny. Like, people used to watch with their friends and families, and that's like where I got the majority of my, I guess, views and stuff from. But no one, there was like this disconnect between brown YouTube and like mainstream YouTube, because people that were brown only watched brown content and like didn't watch anything else. Like even my friends I used to have, hey, did you guys watch like this guy do? Like, I don't know.
And how was your experience on YouTube compared to your experience on Vine? Because you were on Vine.
Oh, so the thing with YouTube was I felt like a lot of times on YouTube I had to make brown-oriented content because like the week I didn't, like I was trying to do like one and one not, and the times I wouldn't, I just feel like a lot of my like core fans are like, yo, what the hell, man, like you're selling out, you're making stuff that's different, like, you know, do more Dixie Parents, do more like Johnny Dad yelling or things like that. I'm like, yeah, that's cool, but like that's not what I initially set up to do on YouTube, because I feel like my sense of humor is derived, or is like, it's a wide range of things. And I think one of my, like for the Vine, I could do literally anything I wanted in 6 seconds because I didn't have that platform yet. And I think I established myself on Vine as like someone that made like content, whether it be like trolling Vine culture or doing like different like parodies or things like that. It was like a whole different ballgame. So I mean, there's a lot more audience came like Snapchat or YouTube and things like that. Actually, matter of fact, the first video, I did a bunch of videos that were brown oriented. One of the ones that I did was like way out there, something totally different from anything I've done before. Was this video called Bounce that I did with Timothy DeLegado. Which was like, still to this day, one of my favorite videos I've ever done. And like, I remember I was so scared. Like uploading it, I was like, man, this is like people are gonna come after me after this video. They're like, what the hell is this? I'm gonna get denounced from the Punjabi community. They're gonna hold a press conference, be like, you don't want this guy anymore, take him back. What's the response like? At first, it was that. Everyone was like, what was this? Like, what kind of drugs are you guys using when you do this? But then slowly, I think when it like kind of settled in, like a lot of people were like, whoa, this is like crazy. And I was like, oh, thank God. It's like, I love that video to this day. And even like Tim, like, me and him both love that video. It's like one of our favorite videos. And just having that opportunity to, even like, I used to watch him when I first started YouTube. So like, even having that opportunity to make a video with him and making one of my favorite videos was like, I guess one of my favorite creators when I started off was really, really cool. So, one piece of advice, don't be afraid. Love yourself. Aim for the stars.
You brought up a really good one, just like, it's funny that you read the comments and like, if you do something that's Asian or has Asian people, there's comments of like, gosh, you guys, this is so Asian, like you should diversify, you should like ask more people. And then you do a video that doesn't have Asian people or like is not an Asian topic, and you're like, oh yeah, you sold out. Like,
what are you, whitewashed? What are you? You forgot about your roots? You know what? The shit your parents had to get you to get here? That's the comments I get. That's to my face. People yelling in my face. Really can't hear it.
How do you guys feel about the creators that play into racist stereotypes and not in a subversive way? I'm going to call everyone out. Call them out. Any thoughts on that?
It's really tricky because I understand the attention that they get from it and how that is extremely attractive. But it just takes us so many steps back from where we could be going as a community. And yeah, I haven't called anyone out on it. I think the way we approach it is more indirectly. And you know, maybe small food will be, we don't try to be a negative voice on anyone, but we'll just throw our own work through a lot of positive outlets.
Or opportunities to turn it into something funny when I think about it.
Yeah, well, I generally tend to like, instead of, like, I mean, we do the Indian accent just because I imitate my dad, but I mean, for the most part, anytime I'm doing anything with a character, like a parent character or something, we always speak Punjabi. Because I'm like, regardless, like, I don't care if it's something else, like, because I want it to be as authentic as possible. So all the characters, even a lot of my videos are Punjabi, and my friends, we all speak Punjabi when we're doing those parts or we're doing those characters. Because it's a language that I'm proud to speak because it's my first language, and English is still my second language, and I know that, and I've always understood that, so I'm proud to speak Punjabi. And it's also cool to see the younger kids that maybe shy away from speaking the language come up and be like, oh man, that's so funny. It's like, or them like learning how to speak Punjabi. Like I know parents that want to be like thank you guys for still speaking Punjabi in your videos, because our kids learn a lot of Punjabi and they think it's cool, they think it's fun to speak, and they'll start speaking it at home with us. Like they'll enjoy speaking Punjabi at home with us, which I think is super cool because growing up, I know my parents placed a heavy emphasis, even though I grew up in Canada, born and raised. Like the rule was like you can't speak any other language except for Punjabi at home. And at first I was like, why? We're in Canada. Like, why? It's the deal. But like I think there's so much value in that because I understand so much more about my culture. I can go back to India and speak no problem. Like these are things that I think me and my friends, we hold a big importance to. Even though my audience is not just Punjabi people anymore, so diverse, but I'll still make the effort to speak Punjabi wherever we can and include subtitles wherever we can. So yeah. Exactly. Make Punjabi cool again. Exactly. And I had like Asian characters in the Cantonese speaking characters, and I made sure to get other Cantonese speaking YouTubers to be in those videos because I was like, I want to make it as authentic as possible. So I try to put like a heavy emphasis on language, even if, because a lot of the humor does come out. It's tough to translate it over into English because a lot of that humor, like whatever you know, I guess the commercials, Punjabi culture, that vibe of that language or how it's spoken or how it's, you know, the sounds and the phonics of it all, it can't be translated over to English. So we try to keep it as authentic as possible. And like even people from India are like, wow, you guys are great. Punjabi kind of sucks. It's kind of, but whatever, like it's still good. So that's why we place a heavy emphasis on keeping it as authentic to the culture as possible. Even if that means I have to like lose a few subscribers here and there because people don't want to read subtitles, but for the people that do value it, it makes it that much more special.
Yeah, so I think what's really funny is my circle of Asian friends, we bond over these commonalities we have between like these jokes these funny instances that happen in our family. So like, oh, can you believe I got for Christmas like college tuition? And so within those circles, it's really funny, like talking about how, I don't know, our parents, like for example with Asian parent stereotypes, sometimes our parents seem like caricatures, you know? But I think what's really difficult for me to swallow about other Asian creators perpetuating Asian stereotypes is that it normalizes those stereotypes for people outside the community. So while I can observe those jokes and be like, yeah, I totally know that that's not the reality, it's just an exaggeration of you know, our cultural gaps with our parents, right? It's really hard for me to be totally okay with that type of content just because then that turns into being microaggressed by other people who aren't Asian and people making assumptions about me and my parents thinking that it's okay to make jokes about my cultural background. So I think that's the most difficult part, and as much as I enjoy, you know, bonding over those commonalities with my Asian friends, I personally just don't, I stay away from like making those jokes publicly or perpetuating those stereotypes just because I don't want people outside of this community to think that it's alright to stereotype us.
Okay, what's your approach to dealing with racist comments? Your approach to dealing with racist comments is that you all received them. Do you censor them? Do you respond to them? Do you hope your audience to try to address them?
I don't think you should censor them at all. Like, at first I think probably like a lot of us, we got comments, we're like, that sucks. Like, but I think I've read every racist comment there is. Like, so it's like, come on, like, get creative. If somebody was like really creative with the racism and kind of funny, then I'd be like, all right, fine, like you were kind of funny, like you get a pass. But like it's like, oh, so like just typical regular comments. Like I don't even care. And the thing is, like I think through your videos, one of the biggest comments that I got from a lot of people is because I think my culture was so unaware, not really unaware, but we were totally like mashed up with like being Middle Eastern, which is like, you know, I love the Middle Eastern culture, but it's so totally different from Indian culture, Punjabi culture. But that's not what literally everybody else in the world saw. So we were usually like thrown in with a lot of, I guess, post 9/11 like hate attacks or just like racist words or like, you know, just bullshit like that. And like, man, that's like blaming a Scottish guy for the Holocaust, and it's like ridiculous because like it's like a totally different generation. It's totally there's no correlation. But I think the biggest thing was like having people come up to you and giving responses like, I remember somebody coming up and being like, wow, I watched your videos and I learned so much about your culture. And I A, realized you're not Arab. B, realized like your families are so similar to our family. Like it's the exact same nuances, exact same like kind of quirky things that your family does and being able to bond over that. And I'm like, that's exactly the point. Like, of course there's cultural differences with the language or the food or whatever, but at the end of the day, we're still human, we're still doing the same stuff, it's still the same sense of humor. The reason you're understanding my sense of humor or what we do in our culture is because you can relate to it. As a human, you understand those exact nuances. So I don't even, back to the racist comment thing, I think it's at a point now where if someone leaves a comment that's like racist, there'll be like 5 people that are going to defend it with like facts. Like here you go, and you don't even have to say anything. They'll say it all for you. So at that point, I think once you reach that point, like it's cool to see people that may not even be South Asian that are like, no, that's wrong. He's actually this and this. So it's cool to see that, being able to like I don't even think you should respond to any of that. Just keep making funny, good, creative things, and your audience will defend you like tooth and nail. And I think that's the cool thing about it.
More often than not, when I feel like when you receive a racist comment on a comedy video, it's more often than not related to your video at all. It's just someone being like, "Hey, you use small eyes. Did you know that?" And there's this one time when I got this comment that told me to like stay home and eat seafood all day, and I was like, "You can't tell me to do that because I'm already doing that." But yeah, so when I get those comments, it's totally irrelevant. It doesn't really. I don't think this person is really there to learn anything. They kind of just want to point out your differences and make fun of you for it. So I just don't engage and just move along. Because for every negative comment you receive like so many positive comments, or from people who look at your content beyond just your appearance, but also maybe you receive comments from people who share these experiences with you and are like, "Hey, I'm also Asian American and I'm really glad that you did this." So yeah, just don't engage and continue doing what you're doing.
Okay, we have some time for some questions. Does anyone have a question they'd like to ask our panel? We'll start right over here.
My question is about representation in mainstream media, if that's all right. So, there's been a lot of talk about diversity, and I think the one thing you guys have mentioned earlier that Hollywood has kind of been slow to react, and that how they're furthering cause by just creating this content. And I would say, even despite the fact that you guys have had a lot of success and views, it's still not enough to make Hollywood notice. So, and to change their business model. So, what then is really the next practical step for change?
So even what we're doing, or what the people on this table or other creators on YouTube are doing, is not enough to move the dial on Hollywood, is what you're saying. And I guess I would kind of disagree with that. I think you're right. I don't think next year you're gonna get your Asian Incredible Hulk or Marvel movie, but in the short 5 years, I'm just thinking off the top of my head, like the business has changed so much around digital content. Even Netflix itself has completely changed the game and how people perceive digital content and what's mainstream. And I think it's going to happen even faster. And if we accept that Hollywood's not changing, so like even if it is not going fast enough, like that doesn't mean that we should stop, because we have, in order to have change, we need to keep adding to that fire. So I agree, like it might seem like it's not enough. I would say that it's actually just slow, because the process is slow. These systems of what Hollywood is built on is decades old by like a different community, and for us to flip that around and to re-educate everyone involved in that ecosystem, it's not going to happen overnight, and you have to just keep fighting.
We went to some meetings where they literally said, "You guys should come in and we'll invite some studio execs. You guys should just like give a workshop and educate them, because they don't know what the Asian American experience is and what you guys are dealing with." So yeah, it's not going to be fast, and a lot of times it is not just what people up here, but you guys, whatever jobs you find yourself doing, if you have that perspective of how can I help out the community, I really think it's going to be the generations following us that those leadership positions where we can really make a difference. Because right now, our parents are still advocating for us to be doctors, lawyers, engineers. But for us, when we're parents, and when you guys are parents, and telling your kids what they want to do, if you guys have an open mind and have them chase what they're passionate about, it really will make a big difference in the long term, if that makes sense.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Well, unless you have something to say.
Well, and I just want to say, like, I do think it's very important, though, that we try to make bigger steps and bigger changes, but that really comes down to just there needs to be more stuff that's being made. And honestly, there just isn't that much, like, when we talk about Hollywood needing to change, it's like, well, we need to show them that we have stuff to show for ourselves. And so that means we need more creators, we need more consumption, putting content out there to show that there is an audience and that there is a content.
More creators, I think from a viewer perspective too, supporting, intentionally supporting people of color and like participating in discussions. There's a lot of discussions around the topics that being whitewashed out, only 1%. A lot of talk about this, so let's keep that going. Next question.
Yo, hello.
Hi, how's it going? Great.
Thank you guys so much. You guys are talking about very important topics that I believe that more people should be aware of. But unfortunately, YouTube is just not that way anymore because it's completely user-driven. It's whatever you personally watch that you will continue to be fed and suggested and recommended for you. So when you have something like that, especially for children, they don't really know what they want to watch, what to be aware of. And they get fed so much garbage, I'll say it. You have people cyberbullying and criticizing kids, even making older people cry, giving them money, giving them power and influence over these young kids, right? That's the reality. These are facts. These are my observations. And through my journey of just trying to do a good thing, raise the hero inside of every single one of you, especially those that are younger and going through puberty. I try to be that voice inside that says, hey, there's going to be so many people that tell you no, but if you can just convince yourself to say yes if you have, you can have other people to say it. But unfortunately, those that have the big power, like you can literally be featured on PewDiePie, like how I did, and still get like 20 views a day, and it just doesn't work out. So what do we do? Markiplier's going to have a Q&A session. When he's half-Asian, should we ask Markiplier for his help? Because what we're asking right now is saying, look, we're too busy to help other people. That's what he personally told me. And I totally understand that, because we all have to find our own way. But it's just really difficult nowadays, just like how you said. And there are so many people that deserve recognition because they try so hard to do something good for the world so that others will continue to do the same thing that they're doing. Sorry. It's emotional, but I understand. Thank you.
So what was the question?
So I have a personal monologue as well. So you guys talked a lot about collaboration with other influencers and interaction with users and media side. Anything on any kind of how your interactions have been when it's working with companies and brands, especially when you're working on something that's a lot more niche focused and also tailored to a certain audience? Do you find that you're being cut off from certain avenues when it comes to brand-related work, if that was the case?
Well, I can tell you that it's something that that people have asked me when I decided I was going to talk about my experiences as a Muslim. The question that people ask me was, are you prepared to not have friends? Are you prepared for friends to possibly be like a little bit scared by that, and maybe not want to work with you? And I said, okay, I don't care. And I have to do what I gotta do. And so I still, after that, after making those videos and having those controversial videos living on my channel, I noticed that a brand, at the end of the day, they want their product sold. And if you have influence, then they're going to want to work with you. Now, if you are a jerk to them, they might not want to work with you. But essentially, if they have a product that they want sold, and you have influence and you have good engagement, then they're going to want to partner. And I think that you should never be afraid to reach out to brands that have a specific project in mind. And you shouldn't be afraid to start that conversation. And even just starting a conversation before you even have a project in mind, you just have a brand you really like. There's nothing wrong with finding their PR email on their website and just introducing yourself. I've done that, and it's resulted in some amazing relationships with companies. And it's because I'm saying, hey, I'm a fan of your stuff. I love your stuff. I'd love to be added to your PR list. This is what I do. And then it's resulted in projects and really awesome things. So it's really about building a relationship with the brand as well. and you should never be afraid to start that.
I'm just going to jump in there too to say that I do want to bring new content, and I actually feel that being a person of color has helped me because boys are trying to work with diverse creators. And in terms of the travel stuff I do, can you think of anyone that does travel content that's not white? I'm willing to think of one person. So that's helped. I mean, we can look at that as tokenism as well, but I don't think it's a hindrance. We have to wrap things up, unfortunately. I'm so sorry. But thank you so much to our panelists. Thank you